right, so let us start our presentation. All right, so last week, Tuesday, we would have started parts of speech, and we did talk about nouns and pronouns. The recording is on YouTube, so you can watch it if you haven't watched it as yet. So today we're gonna continue on pronouns and on some problems or issues that you might come across with using pronouns and what you might get marked down from, right? So before that, our word of the day is genteel, and it's an adjective. And you know, it looks kind of similar to gentle, but of course, this is a different meaning. So genteel means elegant or graceful in manner, appearance, or shape. It can also mean false delicacy, prudery, or affectation. An example of this word in a sentence is, she was born into a genteel family, right? So the word genteel has some familiar English relatives, including gentle, gentrify, and gentility. All come from the Latin noun gens, which is used to refer to a group of related people. So many non-English words also come from gens, including the Spanish gente, meaning people, right? So again, we're gonna start with problems with pronouns today. And so we have a little activity to start. So there are two sentences there. The first one being, to remove all traces of the crime, James put the book and the magnifying glass back in its place. The second sentence being, neither Mark nor Joy could make it to her appointment on time. Are there any issues with the pronouns in these sentences? All right, so let us see if what you said is right. So in both sentences, two of the pronouns used are incorrect. So let's look at the first sentence. To remove all traces of the crime, James put the book and the magnifying glass back in its place. Its would be incorrect. Why? Well, we're talking about both the book and the magnifying glass. So there, plural would have to be used in this sense, right? So it would be, to remove all traces of the crime, James put the book and the magnifying glass back in their place. So here you have plural. And then in the second sentence now, we have, in the second sentence, her cannot be the pronoun used in this sentence. Why? Well, it's both Mark nor Joy, right? So in order to just change the sentence so it can make sense, instead of saying could make it to their appointment, it would be Mark and Joy were late for their appointments, full stop. So let's talk about compound antecedents, right? In the first class on parts of speech, we would have said that antecedents are the noun or pronoun that another pronoun is referring back to, right? So compound antecedents joined by and are almost always plural. So let's see back here. So the book and the magnifying glass, again, this would use a plural pronoun, right? So the antecedents are the book and the magnifying glass, right? So when a compound antecedent is joined by nor or, it's supposed to be or right here, the pronoun agrees with the closest part of the antecedent. So neither the child nor the parents shared their food. So the parents here is the nearest to the pronoun. So the pronoun has to agree with the parents and not the child, right? If the antecedent consists of a male and female subject, however, this rule does not apply. So again, here with the original sentence, neither Mark nor Joy could make it to her appointments on time. It cannot be her because there is a male and female antecedent, right? So we'd have to reconstruct the sentence in order for the pronoun to agree with the antecedents, right? So are you following so far?
Yes.
Okay. So let's go on to collective and generic nouns. So every student must study daily if they want to excel. And then we have students must study daily if they want to excel. The pronoun usage in both sentences correct? If not, explain why. But before I explain why, let's go to another example. So the Academic Excellence Committee granted their permission to bestow the award. Then you have the Academic Excellence Committee granted its permission. And then lastly, we have the Academic Excellence Committee's members granted their permission to bestow the award. So back to the previous slide. Every student must study daily if they want to excel. This sentence, it seems correct because, every student. But is it really correct? For answer that question, let's get some background information. So, collective nouns like team, family, jury, committee, and crowd are treated as singular unless the people/things in the group are acting as individuals. So if you are using a collective noun that has a plural meaning, consider adding a plural noun to clarify the meaning. So the second sentence here, students must study daily if they want to excel. Obviously, it's right because students is the antecedent and students is plural. So there has to be the pronoun that refers back to students. But then every student must study daily if they want to excel, has to use a singular pronoun. Why? Because every shows that it's each and every student. So it's kind of personal and singular. So they would have to be changed into a singular pronoun. And then here, all of these sentences here can be correct. Why? The Academic Excellence Committee granted their permission to bestow the award. It can mean that each and every member inside the committee, all of them granted permission to bestow the award. In the second sentence, it can be used to just say the entire body as one granted permission. And then lastly, the members here clarifies the meaning of, who is granting permission. So again, there can be used in this context, right? So now we move on to ambiguous pronoun references. When Lisa and Jen finally landed, she breathed a sigh of relief. It can't be correct because, again, we have a compound antecedent, Lisa and Jen, right? And if a pronoun can refer to more than one noun in a sentence, the reference is ambiguous. So again, she can refer to either Lisa or Jen. So it's kind of left out in the open to say who did it, if it's they being used. To correct this, replace the pronoun with a noun or change the pronoun or rewrite the sentence. So here we have two correct sentences to replace the first one. So when Lisa and Jen finally landed, Lisa breathed a sigh of relief. So we know who exactly breathed a sigh of relief, right? So the reference is not ambiguous because, of course, it's Lisa, which is a noun. And then lastly, we have when Lisa and Jen finally landed, they breathed a sigh of relief. So they, plural, Lisa and Jen, also plural. So the sentence is clear. Let me know if you're following or if you have any questions. Yeah.
I'm sure you understand what you're doing.
You have a question?
I was saying I understand what you're doing so far.
Okay, good. So again, we're still on ambiguous pronoun references. So Janelle and Raven corresponded regularly when she was in London. Again, the reference is ambiguous because both Janelle and Raven, they are female antecedents, right? So she can refer to any one of them. So in the second sentence, we have when Janelle was in London, she corresponded regularly with Raven. So we have a rewritten sentence that shows who is corresponded with who, and yeah, all of those things. So the reference is clear. So let's talk about implied pronoun references. A pronoun's antecedent must be present in the sentence, be a noun or another pronoun, not be a word that modifies a noun, so a possessive or verb. So in this sentence, we see that one or more of the requirements of a pronoun antecedent is not being met. Oh, it's supposed to be apostrophe S for pronouns right there. But yes, in Wilson's essay, When Work Disappears, he proposes a 4-point plan for the revitalization of blighted inner city communities. So here, he is supposed to the antecedent for he is supposed to be Wilson, but Wilson is nowhere to be seen in the sentence. So we just see in Wilson's essay, but not Wilson by himself. So in order to rewrite this sentence so that it is more clear, we can say, in his essay, When Work Disappears, Wilson proposes a 4-point plan for the revitalization of blighted inner city communities. So here, Wilson is in the sentence. So that means all the requirements of a pronoun antecedent is met, right? And sometimes it can be implied because probably another sentence before this one would have gave more context to Wilson and what he does in his essay. But again, the antecedent has to be present in the sentence in order for it to be clear. So here we have two more statements, sorry. Every weekday afternoon, my brothers skateboard home from school. Then they leave them in the driveway. And then number 2, by not attending the rally, Manley claimed I was unpatriotic. So what are the antecedents in these sentences? Are the sentences themselves clear? So this is my question to you now. You can type it in the chat or open your mic if you can.
I am reading the question.
Okay.
They did not identify who lived them. What they live in the driveway, if it's the skateboard or something else.
Yeah, that's right. And it's the second sentence. Clear?
I think so. I'm not sure about the second part.
All right. So let's go into it now. So as you said, the antecedent in the first sentence is not there because some people might say, well, skateboard is the antecedent, but we know that here, skateboard is a verb. So the sentence would have to be rewritten as every weekday afternoon, my brother skateboard home from school, and then they leave their skateboards in the driveway, right? But in the second sentence, the first part of the sentence is very vague. So there's no pronoun, no noun, no nothing to say. Yeah, I am the subject of the sentence. So we could rewrite it and say, because I did not attend the rally, Manny claimed I was unpatriotic. So there is not ambiguous, it's not implied, it is just there at the start, clear. Yeah, the sentence is clear. So let's talk about references for this, that, and which. I know this is one thing that might mess you up in your personal writing, right? So this, that, and which are often used to refer to ideas expressed in previous sentences. Change the pronoun to a specific noun or add a specific antecedent or clarifying noun for clarity. So here we have two sentences, and it reads, as government funding for higher education decreases, tuition increases. Are we students supposed to accept this without protest? So instead of this, we can change it to, are we students supposed to accept these higher costs without protest? Sorry. Are we students supposed to accept this situation without protest? So here we have clarifying nouns, for more clarity in the sentence. Of course, as we read and even as we speak, most times the pronoun or noun is implied from before. So of course, people say, but yeah, we already know that it's pertaining to the higher cost or the situation. But just for more clarity, it would do you good to just, either change the pronoun or add a specific antecedent or just clarify. And here we have some more notes according to this. So you, they, and it should refer to definite, explicitly stated antecedents. If the antecedent is unclear, singular, is unclear, replace the pronoun with a specific noun or rewrite the sentence to eliminate the pronoun. So here we have a sentence. In some countries, such as Canada, they pay for such medical procedures. But we'll cross out the they and say the government pays because, obviously, yes, sometimes we refer to countries as they, but again, for clarity, the government pays. In another sentence, we can have, according to college policy, you must have a permit to park a car on campus. We can change it to sentence and clarify by saying, according to college policy, students must have a permit to park a car on campus. And a third sentence, in the textbook, it states that borrowing to fund the purchase of financial assets results in a double counting of debt. Instead, we can say, the textbook states that borrowing, and then continue the sentence. So all of these solutions to these problems, they're just mostly for clarity and to make sure that whoever is reading what you write, they get what you're saying from the get-go and you don't leave everything to be implied. Yes, of course, in some contexts, things can be implied. For example, if you're writing a dialogue, dialogue in a story, you could say, and one character is talking to another character, you could have said, according to college policy, you must have a permit to park a car on campus. That's okay in dialogue. But if it's more formal, if it's test-based and all of these things, they're looking for clarity and how you address the audience, right? So you have to keep these in mind. So note, you is not ambiguous when it is used to address the reader, right? So here is another instance where you don't have to be so confused of when to use you, they, it. Because if you're referring to the reader themselves, then of course you can use you to refer to them or to address to them. So I don't know, for example, maybe you're writing an article, maybe you're writing a letter, maybe you're writing, again, dialogue. Well, maybe not a dialogue, but in the sense that maybe a character is speaking to the audience. You know, you can use you if it calls for it. And yeah, it depends on what you're writing, what your audience is, what your tone is, how you want to address them. Is it informal? Is it to give instructions? All of those things, right? So this is going to be our last slide for today, and then we'll continue next week, Tuesday, on parts of speech. And then on Thursday, we'll continue with informative discourse, right? So make your pronouns consistent. Once you discover how easy it can be to download music, you'll be hooked. One can easily find any type of music, and I have found a number of sites that offer a good selection. So, rewriting this sentence, you have to use one pronoun to make it consistent. So once you discover how easy it can be to download music, you will be hooked. You can easily find any type of music, as well as a number of sites that offer a good selection. So the pronouns are consistent, the audience is engaged, everything is good and dandy. Next sentence, if one is to fully reform, the nation's educational system, you must first account for the need to provide academic opportunities for students regardless of their socioeconomic backgrounds. So here the you would have to be changed to one, because we know that one can also be used as a pronoun. So keep your pronouns consistent. If you're gonna use one and it's referring to, if the sentence is referring to just one antecedent throughout the entire thing or one audience, keep it to one pronoun, right? So it is best you keep the point of view. So, you know, of course, first, second, third person, and number, singular and plural, within a sentence or series of sentences. So if you start off in first person, stick to first person. If it's second person, stick to second person. Third person, stick to third person. And we know that first would be I, me, mine, my. Second, you, yours, your. Third, he, she, it, they, all of those things, right? So keep point of view and number the same within the sentence, unless a change is needed. Because, for example, in some books, they might start off in first person and then move on to third person. Or they might switch the perspective of a character. So it still stays in first person, but the first perspective might be from a female, the second from a male. You never know. So depending on the context, you have to, you know, look out for certain things. But generally, keep the point of view and pronouns and number consistent within your sentences. All right, so that is it for today. I hope that you would have learned something. Do you have any questions? Let me know.